Hi, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And I've got my athletic gear on. It's still the Olympics going on. So I initially wasn't watching the Olympics because I don't have cable, but then found out that I could pay for a month of Hulu and get the NBC app and watch the figure skating. So it's still so very, very inspiring. It's not to say that I think everybody should be an athlete or Olympian or anything like that, but I know from my own personal experience of figure skating, and I'll do a Facebook Live related to this in more detail, but art imitates life, and so does sports, actually. So I'm listening to these interviews of these, what I would consider young people, sometimes in their teens, in their early 20s, and they're talking about their Olympic experience. And like, for example, in the United States, the Alex and Maya Shibutani, who I remember when they used to compete here in Lake Placid in the ice dance competition in the summer, and they were just like little. I was a volunteer, and they were like this high on me. And they were so cute, and I was like, oh, these guys are so cute. And now look at them, they're in their 20s, and they're competing at the Olympics. It's like, wow. But I was watching them in an interview the other day, just, they're talking about after they won their Olympic bronze medal, and the second one, and just about their attitude and about how they cope with everything. And I got to tell you, the maturity of their responses was really something. And I've met quite a few of these young people who have this incredible maturity about them. And I got to tell you, the world's in good hands. I know there seems to be a lot of young people that you might see or witness, or their family members or friends, that seem to be going nowhere fast. Like maybe they're on drugs, or they're not doing well in school, whatever. I mean, yes, that is true too. But there is a growing number of young people who are really pushing the edge of what is possible. And that's one of the great things about watching the Olympics, is seeing what was possible 20, 40, 60 years ago and what is possible now. Like some of these acrobatic things that the kids do, like the quadruple jumps and, the ski jumping, and they do all these like flips in the air and everything like that, and the speed coming down the hill, and you name it, world records are being broken. And you think, well, gee, are our bodies that much more fit now than before? The answer is, well, we actually have a lot more stressors on our bodies now than before. We have electromagnetic stress, we've got all these toxins in our food and things like that. So on the one hand, you think, well, gee, there's a lot of chronic disease and cancer and all that kind of stuff, and people are sicker. So how is it that we are able to do all this other stuff now? In athletics is one example where we're breaking barriers and breaking world records. Seemingly on a daily basis. How is that possible? Is it that, only the young people do it and then the old people die off, and there's some truth to that. But I think that the young people are adapting, to what's going on in the world. And I think nature has a way of culling the population of those with certain vibrations that no longer, resonate with with the growing ascension energies of the world. And some of our movies actually reflected as well. I went to see the 3D Black Panther, and no spoilers here, but let's just say that the underlying message of the film was exactly where we're going, that direction that we're going. So these kids are able to do greater and greater things, not because necessarily their bodies are set up for a greater health than they were 50 years ago. In fact, they have much more stress on them now than before, but that they found a way to adapt, and with their youth and energy and everything like that. And the main thing is their mindset, their belief that maybe it wasn't possible before, but why not? Why not? And the Shubutanis were talking about pushing the envelope of ice dance, which is in some ways very old-fashioned. I came from a time where, when I started skating, I was big fans of Shailene Bourne and Victor Kratz, and they used to train here in Lake Placid, and they're just wonderful, wonderful people. And I saw the struggles that they had to go through with an old judging system and bias, and judges being paid off and things like that. And these were two really great young people that were pure and innocent and, you know, caught in the crossfire of all this stuff. And, but they helped to forge the way. They did some of the difficult work that was necessary for this new generation of ice dancers to really push the envelope, to do what hasn't been done before, what wasn't accepted before, and are getting rewarded for it. And that is amazing and wonderful. And how does this relate to healing work at all? Well, it relates a lot, because right now we are pushing the forefront of energy healing work as well. Not just sports, not just Olympics. Yeah, there are definitely going to be people who are never going to be into it, you know, are just never going to believe that kind of thing, but miracles can happen. One of the miracles is my dad recently was diagnosed with a tumor, and I think partly because of thanks to Amy Jo Ellis and the full court of atonement, and some of the, you know, energy work that I do and prayers and, you know, whatever, you know, from the light warriors, that a miracle happened. And that was, here is somebody who's 80 years old, who never really understood what the heck I was doing with energy medicine, was for more or less accepting that I was a medical doctor doing acupuncture, but then now I'm doing all the spiritual medicine stuff. And it has to do with my own transformation, my willingness to just let my parents be where they are. They don't have to change. They don't have to believe in what I do or anything like that. If they want to ask me for advice, I'll give them my advice from my point of view, but understand that they may not take that, you know, and that attitude is, I think, helpful. And he is now saying, yeah, I'm, you know, doing my homework. I'm playing your Ascension 1 and 2 every day. And, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, what a miracle. So sometimes, even though we think some people may never change, they may, which is amazing, but we can't be attached to that, right? So we are breaking the barriers as far as energy healing, and amazing, amazing things are occurring. And we can't be guaranteed of anything in particular, because we can't be in control of somebody's path. You know, we can't take over their path if they're supposed to get cancer, if they're supposed to do things, you know, or experience certain things. But one of the things I wanted to share with you that was very interesting around our, you know, this whole ascension and what's going on is recently, I was doing some testing for a patient's home, and she said that there was this negative energy she could feel, you know, and I thought that was kind of odd since we'd cleared her home previously. Of course, she did admit that she wasn't, you know, keeping up on her daily maintenance on the home, playing Ascension 1 and 2, or using the clearing spray, but nevertheless, there was some negative energy, and I thought, well, this is usually fairly simple. So we went in and figured out, yeah, it's a low light score energy, but it was really hard to pin down what the heck it was. Finally, we figured out it was negative emotions, but I'm like, well, whose? But it wasn't anybody she knew necessarily, and I thought, that is so weird, you know? So finally, we figured out that it was like this, and I kept seeing pictures in my mind. I knew the God team was trying to communicate to me, but I had to use my divine muscle testing to kind of figure it out as well. So I kept seeing like train lines or something, you know, coming in, and it was this mass, and finally I got the word deposit, that negative emotions were being deposited in this space. And I thought, well, why? And it was nothing to do with her, it was nothing to do with, you know, anybody around her. And then I thought, well, gee, there are certain areas of the world, like, for example, you know, certain temples and everything like that, where the energy is just perfect for certain types of energy transformation or transmutation. So, these negative emotions were being transported or deposited in that space, and it was growing over time. Just started like a month ago or so, growing over time. And I thought, well, what for? So we finally figured it out. It took me a while to figure it out, that the emotions were being transmuted in this quote unquote location. Okay. And it was like a station. Like I kept seeing all these trains, right? So I was like, oh, it's a station, you know, and I get a yes, you know, so it's like a transmutation station. I'm like, hey, that kind of rhymes. And I thought, okay, we'll go with it. So in these transmutation stations, which is part of the ascension process, and in fact, you and I and everyone have you know, subconsciously or unconsciously created these transformation stations where negative emotions from those in our community, region, whatever, can be transmuted without, you know, hurting anyone, without damaging anyone. And this was not necessarily possible for us to actually create this previously without our current abilities and our current ascension energies. So it's pretty cool. We kind of co-created something together without actually knowing what we were creating, but it was a positive thing. So these transformation stations certainly are not very comfortable to be around, but they're transmuting negative energies. So what we did was we just moved it to another place that was a little bit more remote, away from people, so it wouldn't be so uncomfortable, because these negative emotions are being deposited there and they get transformed there, and there's nothing really we need to do. So I thought it was a great idea. Well, why don't we make transformation stations for all negative energies, and unfortunately I didn't get a yes to consciously make this for negative dimensional energy or just negative energy in general. Right now it's just emotional energy, and probably we will be graduating to co-creating these stations for energetics too. And I believe that these stations are like nodes. They're like things that just make things a lot faster. And so we don't have to do it individually as much. Yes, some people do still need to release their trapped emotions and emotional baggage very, very consciously and individually, one at a time, because they need to know something. It's very important. But on the other hand, if we can have these transformation stations en masse to help negative emotional energy in our community, awesome. So my understanding is that they've already been there. We don't need any more. Okay, all of them have been created, built, whatever. The energies are there, and we've already kind of moved all of them away from living quarters and where people are. So chances are that you don't have to worry about, and you shouldn't worry anyway, right? Don't need to fear any of this. So you don't have to be concerned about being close to a transformation station. Now, of course, I'm testing this stuff out, and it's taking a while, and those patients are very patient. That's why they call them patients, I guess. Trying to figure this stuff out, and I'm like, wow, this is a good thing my mind is sharp. It's still taking me a while to figure this out. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a cool name, because I was asking the God team, I'm like, okay, I was asking Source, is transformation something, like, can you give me another name? And then I got the, the trains and said, is a station? I got, yes. So anyway, so I come home. And so James, my husband, likes to listen to YouTube videos, and he loves this one video game that they play online. And there's a lot of magic in there and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like out of my ear, just, it's playing this woman is giving tips on how to play this game well. And so I'm doing something else, but I'm just, hearing it in the back. And all of a sudden I hear Transmutation Station, and I'm like, what? I mean, this is the same day that I discovered this, right? So I'm like, back it up. What did she just say? And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, did I hear Transmutation Station? And he's like, yeah. I said, have you ever said those words to me? And he goes, no. He said, this is a new thing in the game. He says, this is the first time I've heard of it. And I'm like, really? And so it was like, wow, so that's what we call a synchronicity. That is where, that what we were trying to figure out earlier, the universe gives a message to me to say, yes, that was true, this was real, something like that, some sort of confirmation that I'm not completely off my rocker. Well, sometimes I'm off my rocker, but usually on purpose. So wait till you see my skating program. Anyway, so in this case, this is that feedback from the universe, which is really quite amazing that happens. And it's like, hallelujah when that happens. You hear the synchronicity, or you visit or witness it. And that's how you kind of know you're on the right track. And for those of you that have been taking my Unlock Your Superpowers program, it's really important to pay attention, because we're getting feedback all the time, sometimes more subtle or sometimes not so subtle, like this transmutation is what I meant to say. Transmutation Station is the name of it. So it's just totally amazing. So keep your eyes and ears open for synchronicities like that. But I did want to share with you about these transmutation stations, that they are up and running, and none should be close to you or near you, unless of course you get really anxious and somehow attracted to. But no, I don't really think that's going to happen. But anyway, I really wanted to tell you that cool story. A couple other really important things for this week that have come up that I want to share with you is in previous weeks, we talked about how, especially for light warriors and sensitives, that our awareness abilities are increasing exponentially. Our awareness of the whole needs to be balanced with our awareness of the now. If we're too aware of the whole and not enough of the now, and that is imbalance, we can have basically kind of like too much information. Think about, having access to, instead of 7 radio channels on your radio, you have access to 2.5 million all at the same time. Yeah, that's pretty intense. So we want to, for the most part, stay in the now, unless you're, of course, doing healing or psychic work, and sometimes you will need to have access to that whole and then come back to you and the now. So the things you can test for, we mentioned before in other videos, test for how balanced is my awareness of the now and the whole. And you can also ask within the subset of the now and the subset of the whole, how balanced is your awareness in terms of your physical awareness, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, dimensional, within the whole or within the now. And what's new this week is that you can ask this specifically for when you're sleeping. So we have found out that there are certain folks who, when they're awake, their awareness of the now and the whole are pretty balanced. So they're kind of mostly in the now. But then when they sleep, there's a little bit of a glitch or opening up or whatever, and they become completely aware of the whole. And not to say that that's necessarily bad, but for that particular person, it may not be appropriate. So if it's not appropriate and they are way too aware of the whole while they're sleeping, and say they're more emotionally aware or energetically aware than all the other awarenesses, then that might feel kind of stressful to the body, and that might cause you to have some problems sleeping or staying asleep. So you want those balanced. You can just ask, and using divine muscle testing, how balanced is my awarenesses of the now and the whole while awake and while asleep? And you want that to be 100% balanced in all aspects and all your bodies. All right, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, dimensional bodies. So that's one of the tips for this week. The other interesting thing was that we discovered a quote-unquote new, meaning new as newly described, entity type. Now, I don't for the life of me remember what we called it because it's on my other computer, so I apologize about that. But it's less important what we call it, and just to let you know that we kind of helped fix a problem, one of my patients and mine, one of my clients and myself. So we found that that there is a plane of existence where soul exchanges occur. Now, I'm not just talking about walk-in, walk-outs, but I'm talking about soul surgery. Like if you, for example, this is out of Ruth Rendelli's work, if you have multiple souls, okay, her book is Multiple Souls, by the way. If you have multiple souls and you have one that's incompatible and is a depressed soul, for example, but it's human, it's not, it's not like a ghost or a demon or anything like that, or an ET. It's a human soul, that you can actually ask your God team to do soul surgery and remove the depressed soul, and just keep the soul that is the enlightened, happy soul, so to speak. But we did discover that in this plane of existence where these soul exchanges occur, that there was a very, very sneaky, and they do tend to be sneakier, as we said, and more subtle, sneaky entity type that was interfering with the processing of this soul exchange or soul surgery, so that, negative energies, for example, can persist even after soul surgery. And of course, the God team, at least my God team, is fully capable of, getting rid of or neutralizing this particular type of entities. But they did need me to understand and know about this plane of existence before they would go ahead and do the clearing and healing on our behalf. So sometimes those of us healers that are supposed to find out things to share with other people, the God team just, puts on the brakes, lets us discover it, and after that then goes ahead and does the work. I know some of you are like, why can't they just do it automatically for me? I'm like, yeah, a lot of times they do a ton of stuff automatically for us if you've asked for it, okay? But at the same time, for those of us that have a role to understand something, part of our mission, part of our wanting to experience life in a physical body, sometimes they take a back seat and say, no, we're not allowed to tell you exactly what this is. You have to discover it for yourself. And I get a lot of help. I get a lot of help from my healer friends. I get a lot of help from my spirit friends. And I'm certainly more than willing to receive help. I wasn't previously, decades ago, hence the fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue that I got. But I'm very much more open to receiving help too. And sometimes it's not that the God team doesn't help me try to figure stuff out. It's my just attention, awareness, my willingness, and things like that. And sometimes they don't push. And speaking of pushing, the other thing I really wanted to share with you today is about guidance and how, boy, this should be like 3 videos, not one. Anyway, but I'm so excited to tell you guys this stuff. So this is about false and true guidance. So many of you are experiencing what we will call the awakening. You know, the awakening, so some of your spiritual gifts are really expanding. The clairsentience, the ability to feel what others feel, is pretty intense and not always so pleasant for certain folks, especially if it's pretty new to you and you haven't got a handle of it since childhood, for example. And of course, there's clairvoyance, seeing things that other people, regular so-called people, can't see, clairaudience. And what's really interesting about the clairaudience is that, and sometimes this is even trickier than the other clairs, if you've been awakening to them, is some people get understandably very excited to hear their guides. I mean, you know, in their language. And the way I hear my guides is that it's like they, I come up with a word when I'm testing, and it's not like I hear it with my physical ears, nor do I necessarily see ghosts or demons with my eyes, although I feel with my body some of these things, but I don't physically see them, at least not yet. Okay, that's for whatever reason is not my path at the moment. But those folks, the clients and students and other light warriors like yourself may becoming more and more clairaudient, so you are hearing your guides. But here's the thing. At the same time you can hear the guides, you can hear things that and people that are not your guides. And so this requires a high level of discernment. And it's tough because it is very attractive and very almost mesmerizing to get guidance, and you hear your guidance and you get so excited, like, oh my gosh, you know, I've lived here 40 years and finally I'm getting, you know, advice from my guides. And it's very exciting. Absolutely. But you need to have discernment about it. So sometimes you will hear from who claims to be your guides certain pieces of advice, and it is not for your highest and greatest good, and it is not from higher guidance. So it's one of the reasons why in my programs, especially, you know, the latest one, the Unlock Your Superpowers program, we do specific healing work on your God team and your guide team so that we heal and shut out all those that are not 100% aligned with truth, love, and light. Because we have been finding, you know, that there are so-called false guides that are appearing, and sometimes we've been with you for decades and you don't know that. And they kind of interfere and give you bad advice, you know. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to discern good and not so good guidance. So, for example, and by the way, if you are in my Unlock Your Superpowers program, that's already programmed into the Awaken Your Superpowers and the Augment Your Superpowers, okay, the God team, you know, healing is already in there. Of course, it's in the modules, kind of spelled out, you know, in the modules. And it's also on the live calls. We've done that multiple times. And of course, your one-on-one sessions, we also do that as well, as to make sure your God team is an up and up. And you should probably make your help your God team help your microbiome's God team too, because they've been going through some high dimensional interference and they need a higher God team. Okay, so I digress. Okay, so discernment. How do you discern what you hear is real guidance or not? Okay, here are a couple of hard and fast rules. So write these down, okay? Number 1, the guidance you hear will come, good guidance, will come with no emotional attachment. Okay, so let me repeat that again. Good guidance from those love, light, and truth comes without emotional attachment and oftentimes emotional content even. Okay, it's not to say that your angels do not celebrate and be totally happy when you get something right, or, right as far as in terms of you figured something out, and they're like, woohoo, and they're cheering you on and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that they're not the ones to be pushy. Okay, so give you an example. You might have, have you ever seen the cartoons with the little angel on one shoulder and the devil on one shoulder, and the angel saying, be nice, don't be mean, be kind, and then the devil's like, just tell him to bugger off, and stuff like that. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have this push-pull, and we automatically assume that the nice person is our guidance, like our positive guidance. Be kind, be compassionate. And even though that is true, be kind and be compassionate, did you know that sometimes the kindest thing to do is to say no? Sometimes the kindest thing to do is to prevent someone from being in your life anymore because they are destructive and they are toxic. And how does that benefit them? It benefits them because then they learn, I can't do that to somebody. They'll shut me out. And maybe they won't learn from you. But if you keep trying to heal them, trying to help them, and literally they're giving you signals like, well, yeah, it's your responsibility, not mine. I'm not going to do anything. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm a victim. Then it's like, okay, that little guy that you think is the angel that's telling you to be kind and compassionate, you're assuming, okay, that is guidance, and or you're misinterpreting what that is. Okay, the voice that keeps saying, oh, be kind, be nice, don't say bad things, let them try again, give them another chance, you know what? That is not necessarily your highest guidance from your highest self. That's part of your ego. The ego that says, if I don't succeed in helping this person, then I suck. If I don't succeed in helping this person, they might die. They might never get better. They might lose their children and their home and everything like that. And oh my gosh, I feel so responsible if that happened and I could have done something about it. Okay, that's ego. Okay, and that's not even a false guide. That's just ego. But true guidance, when you have it, comes sometimes almost like a whisper, subtle. Sometimes not so subtle. Sometimes you hear it in English, okay? But there's no attachment to you having to do it or not. That is a huge piece of discernment. Okay, so you get guidance that says, you have to do this. Hurry, you have to do this. Time is wasting. Let's go. Nope. That is not the highest guidance. That's often a false guide. Sometimes well-meaning false guides, but not fully aligned with divine love, light, and truth. You know what, Source? I don't want to say Source doesn't care what you do, but it's more like it's a choice. The God team, Source, understands that you have choice. You can exercise that choice. So if someone's trying to convince you, like, I'm part of your God team, I'm Archangel Michael, yes I am, you need to believe in me, this is me. You know what? I don't think so. Because Archangel Michael doesn't need you to believe in him. He doesn't need you to use him. He doesn't need you to do anything. No. And this fatalistic kind of, if you don't take action, something bad's going to happen to Mother Gaia. Or if you don't take action, nope. No. You can feel that underlying tone of fear, can't you? You have to do this. There's a deadline. If you don't do this, someone's going to, So it's a manipulative. It can be really subtle, though, because sometimes they say, like, 80% true things, and then there's that 15% that is manipulative underneath that. So there's a manipulative, fear tactic kind of tone, and that's when you know, no, I'm not listening to you. Goodbye, And you ask your God team, look, if whoever is not 100% truth, love, and light aligned with Source, you're not allowed to speak to me or communicate to me right now. We're putting up my boundaries. Thank you very much. Okay, and then at that point, you could go and ask Archangel Michael or whoever you believe in and say, okay, God team, go ahead and heal this being and take them away from me. I no longer want to hear from them. If anybody has to convince you that they're Source or convince you, they're not that. Because Source doesn't need you convinced. You believe, you don't believe, doesn't matter. It's up to you. Your choice. That's your gift for being human, for being incarnated. So think really carefully about what you hear. Now, true guidance can come as very neutral, and it can come as very loving and understanding and patient. And I really thought, like, oh, I got to get this done before I die. Otherwise I would have wasted my life and all this kind of fatalistic, kind of like deadline thing. And I realized, no, that was my ego saying all that. It's like Source and God are infinitely patient. I mean, yeah, you probably hear it even in spiritual books. Well, if we don't take action now, the Mother Earth's going to die and, we're going to kill ourselves. It's like, maybe not. But if you subscribe to any of that fear tactics, then we're just no better than the, other human related forces or ET related forces in our lives trying to manipulate us to be in fear and be in anger and separation, and whether that be, arguing about, gun control, which is like putting a Band-Aid on something to me, or some other, Ebola virus scare or something like that to detract us from our peace, detract us from our direction, detract us from our love. So there's all these subtle and not so subtle manipulations of us, and I want you as a light warrior to remember you're the one that's waking up. You're the one that has the opportunity, to create positive new morphic fields. The more we can stay in peace, no matter what happens in our life, the stronger this morphic field gets. And that's really exciting to witness. And that's what I love to witness with you. We're all in this together. Okay, so a couple of announcements. So we have some shows coming up on the radio show on Monday. So please join me Monday at noon for our next radio show. And which currently I can't remember what it is. Excuse me while I check my calendar. Okay, let's see. What did Jennifer set up for me here? This is embarrassing. I'm in the middle of a live radio thing or a live video and I can't see what it is. Oh, yes. All right. So we are airing. Let me see if I can get this. Oh, yay. Yeah, that's right. All right. We are airing a pre-recorded show with Ellen, and Ellen is the co-creator of Pure Light Audio, and that's a free iPhone app. It's soon to be an Android, but I mentioned this weeks ago, and I forgot that we had to pre-record. So then she's going to be we're going to release the pre-record on the show on Monday at noon. So it's an iPhone app you can get on your phone, and guess what? My Ascension 1s and 2s are available there, as well as the free gifts and things like that. And there are a lot of free gifts there with a lot of different healers. So see if it resonates with you. But I think I love interviewing CEOs of companies who get positive, good guidance and then roll with it. I mean, they take action and they create something brand new that's never been created before, and it really changes the world for the better. And so I just had such a delight witnessing and hearing about Ellen, where she was before, where she is now. And I think even if you think like, oh, I don't need this iPhone app or I don't have an iPhone, listen to the interview, because she is an example of someone who has really taken her soul's mission and has ran with it, gone forward, and is such an inspiration to everyone else. So please, please, please do that. And for those of you in my Light Warrior Revolution program, where we do master classes in Tolpacan healing, there is a new one up in the student portal. Okay, and this one for this month is going to be focusing on brain fog and memory. So we have several different ways that you can kind of approach this problem. So I put my little doctor hat on as well as my intuitive hat on, so you get both parts in the training. And then I look forward to our Q&A every month, and this is coming up as well, where we give you actual examples of people with these symptoms that have volunteered to let me assess them so you can see exactly how this is done in real time. And what the really neat thing is, and this is only for people who are at that point where they want to know more, they want to understand what kind of questions do I ask Source? Now that I have a connection, now I have divine muscle testing, how do I ask? What do I ask? What if I have the symptom? Like, what do I ask? How do I use the Topocan healing guides to help me, you know? So for those that are ready for that, then when we do these live calls, and they're recorded, of course, and put in your student portal so you can access them, but when we do these calls, we take, you know, real people with these real problems and we problem solve it together, and you'll see how exactly that's done, and that'll give you some experience on how to do it on your own. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And every month, we're going to do a brand new topic, and mostly voted. You know, whichever's the highest votes, you know, get to be the next topic. So we're going to have over the years to come a compendium, a very comprehensive compendium on how to do Topocan healing assessments and healings on a whole range of symptoms. So that is very exciting to me as well. And last but not least, my other announcement is keep the dates September 7th to 9th, that weekend, that's the weekend after Labor Day, on your calendar, because I would love to see you live and in person and give you a personal hug as part of my Supercharge Your Healing Powers program. And this is a live event. So we've asked on the poll what people want, and people seem to want a balance of practicing receptive healing gifts as well as projective healing gifts. So in other words, reading and giving, right? So reading a person and then giving healing on a person. So thanks to everyone who did the Facebook support group poll on that. So we're going to give you a balanced experience on that. Of course, it's not going to teach you everything that has to do with the healing, but boy, it's going to be a lot of fun. Totally a lot of fun. So we're going to do some of that. And of course, you're going to receive quite a bit of healing as well as practicing it. And we're going to have some fun healing experiences together, and just generally, you know, fun in this beautiful place, being fed and being in beautiful, you know, Adirondacks and this vibration here. So I'm really looking forward to meeting each and every one of you. I really hope you can make it. Now, there is no link. Now, for those of you that have a free ticket, awesome. Okay, you already know the dates and where to fly in for that. But we will be releasing in a little bit some more details about the program. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what all the exercises are because that's a surprise. You have to experience them. But what we are going to tell you is we're going to be confirming the dates, and then Kathy and I are going to be sharing with you, you know, how to get hotel rooms and you know, at Kathy's and you know, things like that. Kathy's really great at doing all sorts of different diets. Not only she's an amazing energy healer, she's an amazing chef and co-owner of this resort we're going to be doing it at. So it's going to be very homey and very down to earth, very fun and intimate. You know, it's not like 2,000 people are going to be there. You know, it's not like that. So I really hope you can make it. So we'll be releasing some of that information upcoming in the next month. So keep your eye on your inbox if you're part of my tribe. And if you're not, you can go ahead and subscribe at KarenCan.com. And I have some free gifts there. So you can be part of this subscribe, so you can know the latest of, you know, when we're going to get all the preparations ready for this event. Okay, so have a wonderful rest of the week, and until next time, I look forward to seeing you on Facebook.